Hey, welcome back, everybody, to this episode of the POBcast. I'm your host, Stewgar.
And I'm Zentor. And joined with us today, we have Vicious Jeff.
And before we begin this episode, we're going to take a moment of silence in tribute and in honor of Connor.
And for those who may not know, Connor is a former admin and longtime veteran of Discovery. Fortunately, he's no longer with us, but we're going to go ahead and jump into the episode. Stewgar?
Yeah, actually, I bounce it back to you. Zentor, everyone's been clamoring. Everyone's been trying to figure out where you been. What's been going on with you?
Oh man, life in general. I've spent the better part of, I guess, this last year um, in a few different career changes, I guess, kind of working on building my own business, exploring a lot into woodworking, like quite extensively. Been doing a lot of odd jobs all over the place. Um, I've been just really, really, really busy with life, and I have literally played up until about a month ago. I had played maybe 5 hours of games this entire year, and in fact, most of the time that I've actually gamed this year was with Stewgar, like months and months ago. It was some zombie game, I think.
Yeah,
So
State of Decay.
yeah, that was like in April or something. It's been a really long time. Also
Yeah.
jumped into didn't jump into. I'm in a relationship, so just life has just kept me super busy this year, and I honestly have had very little desire anyway to come back to Discovery. But I've been getting little hints and updates from Stewgar upon occasion. Um, about a month ago, I started gaming a little bit more, probably in in reaction to the presidential election here in the United States and its outcome. I actually finally started getting back into games. I played a little bit of Ark Survival again, and mostly have been spending the last month gaming with the time that I do have gaming with my brother, playing Atlas, which is based on Ark, I guess. Like part of the team formed Atlas, but it's a sort of pirate fantasy s game. That's what I've been doing mostly in my game time for the past few weeks at least, and then also making lots of woodworking gifts for Christmas people. But that's mostly me.
Yeah, yeah, I could tell you that just having a girlfriend itself, and doing stuff with her, I can attest to that. Whenever I met Potato, my freelancer and my gaming time plummeted, and it's for good reason. It's you get out, get to do stuff, and you have a best friend, and you get to run around and do stuff. So, yeah, definitely good for you. And yeah, that's why I've been trying to spread the word when people talk about you or where you've been. I send him messages and he's not responding. I said, look, he needs to stay as far away from a computer. He needs to stay as far away from Discovery for a little while because he's doing life right now. And yeah, so I've been rooting for you. Um, I've understood, and especially with your woodworking projects and the business that you're trying to do. Which, by the way, that board that you got us, it's amazing. Um,
Nice.
yeah, we love our bologna and cheese at night, and we use that all the time. So good
Oh, it's
quality
great.
product. So I guess that's our sponsor, Zentor's Woodworking Company. Do you?
Actually, got to teach a class over the weekend, last weekend, which was really, really awesome. It was the first time I've ever done that. I was doing a woodworking class up at Rockler, and we were doing like a holiday cheese board project. A real simple thing, but it was really fun. I got to teach a couple of fathers and sons, and that was kind of rewarding for me.
That's awesome. Is that paid or you just volunteer?
Well, I work there already, and then when you actually sign up to teach a class, they give you extra depending on the complexity of the class. So I did get extra for that, but it was really fun planning it out and then working with these guys and teaching them the stuff that I'm pretty passionate about.
Awesome. Well, that's good, man. If you're doing stuff that makes you happy, I'm a fan of that. And yeah, really, really happy with what you're doing.
My
Um,
My curiosity is stoked, though. It sounds like there's been some big changes to disco. A little bit we've talked about recently, but definitely
Yeah,
want to catch up with everybody and see how everything's been going. Jeff, if I could turn it to you, like, what have you been up to? I know that you took a bit of a break at some point, I guess, from disco. Why don't
Yeah,
you update me on everything?
sure. Yeah, I took my own break on disco. Things are slowing down with my inner space faction, so I kind of left it be for a bit, see how it rounded out. And when I came back, I decided that I was gonna. My choice was I'm going to enjoy disco, and in order for me to do that, I can't let anybody else influence how I play it. So I went in
Yeah,
there with a full RP perspective, and now I've got this faction that's sort of just me and a couple people looking at it with interest, called Interstellar Transit Freelancer faction, starting from the ground up, just doing passengers and a little bit of cargo, and it's pure RP. Like my forums I'm just throwing videos and stuff on the forums just for fun, and I've been enjoying like every minute of it.
that's
you
great.
have a music video
Oh
for
God, you
your.
need the link. Yes.
Yeah, we need. So when we post this on the forum, we need to have his link
All right,
posted.
that
It's
sounds
an
good.
amazing. He contracted the singer. He wrote the lyrics
Oh
himself.
yeah.
What? Haven't you heard of AI, Jeff?
I'm the guitar in the background. Yeah, exactly. I'll
Oh
take
yeah.
credit for every little bit of that. It was not generated at all.
Oh,
Just
you
Wow.
don't know this
pure.
about Jeff. He was in a hair band back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Every so often I grow it out again just for
Yeah.
nostalgia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I think, a part of a lot of players' evolution in their time on Discovery. Went through a similar phase where, like, I had to take a break, and when I came back, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try and, like, chase the rabbit anymore. I'm going to, like, just try and play the games on my own term. Whatever is interesting to me at the moment, that's what I'm going to do. A lot of it was RP based. Actually, that was the time that I started to form Crier. I was really invested in to like doing some like fucked up business, like RP and stuff, like really devious
He
shit.
has some dark storylines in the works.
So yeah, that's great that you're doing that, and I hope that you enjoy yourself.
Yeah. It's been fun so far.
Oh, but so what about you, Zentor? Freelancer in the future? Is there any future freelancer for you, or are you still gonna feel things out?
I mean, I think I'll tiptoe into it a little bit. I want to feel the waters and figure out, where the state of trade is. Obviously, that's my heaviest interest. I am slightly bitter.
Why is that? Why don't you go ahead and tell us all about that?
I mean, I don't know all the nuances of where the economy and trade and POBs are at this point, but I do know that I had a lot invested when I did leave. A lot of it was code work that I was trying to push through for a really long time to update POBs and bring them into a much more modern state. And I had a lot of plans for the economy, and I mean, I was talking to all of you guys about those at the time. Um, but I hear a lot of these things that I had proposed, planned, and discussed with various people have come about in some form or way. So I want to kind of see how those have developed, to be honest. Um, but it does sound like they did finally implement a lot of these things that I had discussed with a lot of folks that we had generated together, which I was really, really proud to put in at the time, but was kind of facing a brick wall for a long, long time because of the the kind of dead state that the development team was in at the time. So I will definitely take a look at Disco and see where everything's at and poke my head in here and there, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and that's been the biggest surprise for me because when they rolled out with the big update, and then with that came a bunch of the POB reworks, especially the fabrication stuff, weapons, and different systems for actually building ships. That's it because knowing the insider information and what's going on within the dev world, I was really confused why everything happened the way it happened, and then now they're implementing the thing. So, um, but
Well, I mean, when I left, it was kind of at a time where a lot of people that were really, really passionate about disco kind of came back. And Eingar had been doing a lot of work with code, and he
Mhm.
was making big steps. He finally was getting the attention he needed from the top tier of the dev team, Hayes and Alex, to actually finally implement that stuff. I had been talking for like the better part of a year to try and get all of these code changes and updates pushed through, and was mostly not being heard, I thought. So I kind of stepped back from the coding stuff and was going to just focus on my econ stuff for a while. And then Eingar came on the scene, and thankfully he kind of resurrected the coding situation and put through a lot of big changes really, really fast, which was great. But then, like, econ got kind of sabotaged, and I got shouted out. So I was like, you know what? It's time for me to dip. There's no point in being an econ lead whenever changes are being made to economy without you. So that's what happened at the time. So we'll see where everything's at the moment. But I did hear a lot of cool people have come back. Some people that I was very inspired by when I first came to the development team, like Jammy. I've never really met Jammy like one on one. I've seen him posting the dev chat before I left, but he was just kind of coming back on the scene whenever I did take off. So I'm eager to pick his brain and see what his plans have been, and take a look at some of the things he's done. But I do
Yeah,
hear
no,
that there's been a lot of people reinvigorating disco.
yeah. I was gonna say that maybe because you left when those people came back, so it was I know that could have been a really bittersweet, and maybe that could have been the dilution or diluting the the boys club, if you will, so that they don't have as much power, so that the other folks come in saying, hey, this is a really good idea here, we should go ahead and push for this. And then now we have POBs that can create all sorts of bunch of different stuff, and it's good for discovery.
Like
Unfortunately,
ships?
what's that?
Like ships?
Like ships, yeah. Yeah, when everyone's saying, "Oh yeah, this is impossible." Well, guess what's
I
happening
was
now?
playing with that code, and everybody was like, "Stop it! Stop! That's not going to work. It's never going to work. You can't make ships on POB. Stop it!"
Oh, I like the "Hey, Aaron, it's too much like Eve."
Yeah. I'm like, "No, no, 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 just leave me alone. I'm gonna make it
Yeah.
happen." And I would, like, release little snippets of videos where, like, I produced a barge and stuff, but it was,
Mhm.
like, leading to crashes, so I was still investigating that. But it's hilarious that they actually made that work, and it's there. I mean, so many of these ideas that I was trying to push through, and everybody was like, "Shut up."
Somebody is building a barge, and the amount of resources required, like it's going to take months of constant supply to build this thing. So it's
Didn't,
interesting you say that, because I don't know if they've tested that or not. Because that'd be interesting. Somebody builds a barge and then they can't even take off from the POB because it keeps crashing.
that didn't they nerf or super nerf the barge at some point?
Yeah. So yeah, it is exactly what happened. You can't dock at trade lanes anymore. Um, I think they've nerfed the speed of it as well. But the trade lanes in of itself, that's what killed the barge, because you've eliminated trade pretty much from Bretonia to Kasari, unless you go through Liberty, which doesn't make sense. But you can't go through the towels. You can trying to think. I don't think you could really go Liberty to Rhineland, because you can't go through Bering. Good luck with that.
Right.
And Hudson, yeah, pretty much you'd have to follow the trade lane through Hudson. But that's that's what I told you. Like, if they do that, it makes sense. The story situation makes sense with that. Is the barge is very big, it won't fit through the trade lane, or the power that the trade lane requires to push the barge through, it can't produce enough. So I understand, and I think anybody could wrap their heads around that idea. But I still think that they need to make the barge no clip, which would help, especially with the NPCs that are buzzing around. Because again, some systems, the only way to go through them is by following the trade lane, and then that's where you're going to run into NPCs. And then also when you're out
one
and
patrol hitting your barge and you're flipped around and you spend the next like 5 minutes turning back around. It's awful.
right. Yeah. Yeah, and this was kind of a sour point, and I'll try not to be too salty here, but this really led to me kind of leaving last year. Was there was a lot of discussion about the PO or the barge being a credit printer as it was, and we did the math. St. Denis and a few others. I was saying it. I didn't even. I knew this was going to happen. I didn't even waste my time putting forth the math. But St. Denis and a few other people proved through logic and math, and they even tested it themselves. Gave the numbers, gave the proof, and they were just utterly disrespected.
I mean,
Whenever
there's no love for the barge amongst
there
the
isn't
top
no.
of the
Once you
dev.
get past 2 or 3 systems, depending on the systems, the 5K is more efficient. So I don't understand. The only thing that the barge was doing that was breaking the economy was someone like Xenon, when he had his thing over in Cambridge, he would mine gold and stock up his POB. And the reason he wanted to do that was it's a way for traders when they haul in materials for his fabrications, they can take the gold at a reduced price and then sell it to make some extra credits. Well, what was happening is during his daytime, he would mine all this stuff, get up to, right around 30K of gold ore on his station, and then a barge would come back overnight, fill it all up, and then it's hauled out to the Omegas to sell.
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean, my plan though was for the barge to not be the mega hauler that it was. It was kind of multifold. I wanted the barge to become a like utility like temporary POB that you could put out someplace like on site, where mining operations are ongoing, and it could have like refineries on board. So it would act as a POB. It was not something to like just haul, just be a mega hauler. You could use it to produce different factories or various modules, and then it could be only utilized for that application, not to just haul shit back and forth. And the idea would be, I don't know what has happened. So take that with a grain of salt since POB's changed since I left. But my idea was we would vastly reduce how much material was needed for these different modules and just change it to a time thing. So instead of like bringing 150,000 alloy or whatever in, which is just mind numbingly awful, you would have a much reduced amount, but it would just take an amount of time so that instead of spending your time going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, taking this one resource, you could bring everything you need to your POB and get it on its way to doing this, whatever it needs to do to get to the next step. And then you can like play the game, but it's just going to take some time and you're okay with that. And so the barge would not be this like mega hauler, freightliner anymore. It would be its own little application as like a temporary POB out on mission in the deep space, not going through all the house systems or whatnot. And then you could actually spend time playing the game, and POB production would be a quite a bit different scene, I think. You could tell me if any of that stuff is. I mean, I know the POB thing with the barge never happened, but
well, so I'm actually going to read something to you here. Designed and manufactured to serve in dark corners of space where the closest friendly base is but a memory, the barge is a mobile factory,
bingo.
station, and refinery designed to operate independently of external support. There's another paragraph, but that is the info card of the barge. So, yeah, that's been kind of a topic of discussion and some jokes as well. Because the barge itself is going against what the very info card is that says what this thing is supposed to do. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that would.
it's not like an ocean tanker, that's not what it was designed to be. It was meant to be like an on-site temporary factory versus like, okay, well, we're operating the deep, deep void where we can get this really good deal if we can operate on site mining X ore because it's right out there and it's really expensive to bring it into house space. So if we can like take a barge out there, way the fuck out there and act as a temporary outpost and like do the refining, probably slower, more inefficient than like a fine-tuned NSE base or something like that. But you can actually have that thing on site out there working the ore versus using it as a semi truck.
Yeah, and that could be fun too. And while you're doing that refining operation on it, you could be role playing as well.
Yeah,
I could imagine like
and it's
you're
vulnerable.
the,
It's destroyable.
right. Yeah, you're just chugging along the omegas, chewing up this ore, and talking to red Haitians and trying to talk them down from stealing all your stuff. That could be
Yeah, I mean,
that
they're
could be fun.
pirating
But
you. You're probably making bribes and shit to keep them from just showing up with a few bombers and a cruiser and obliterating your temporary base or whatever. Because that thing's
mhm.
not going to escape anything.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still there's a bunch of different little loopy things going on with the economy. The one thing we were laughing about this last week, and Jeff, chime in if you know what the piece of equipment I'm talking about. But there's a piece of equipment that requires Xeno relics to manufacture. The Xeno relics is illegal in house space, but once you create the device is legal. I don't understand that because we were talking about the
Is it made to seem like it's not something accepted, like it's legal, but it's like, you shouldn't be using that.
I think it's the cloaking device.
Oh, Jesus.
Cloaking device, which cloaking devices are not unlawful in house space. So yeah, so that doesn't there needs to be a and I know all this stuff is new and all this stuff needs to get fleshed out. I was just messaging Dr. Shi a couple weeks ago, pointing out there's some liberty laws that aren't reflecting. There's because they got rid of slaves and I want to say like MWAR munitions and things like that. They got rid of those, but they're still reflecting on liberty law as illegal. So so I know everything is still catching up. So I don't know if they're going to open it up for governments to be more free about their licenses for hauling in this commodity. But yeah, we were talking about the finesse of how do we produce this stuff while keeping it in role play. So having like junker uh, side characters that are hauling the stuff in. Well, then what if you're caught by Navy bringing this stuff? Like Xenon, for example. Which, by the way, his operation in Cambridge, the base is no longer there.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah,
know that. Where's it
yeah.
at?
He moved to Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yep, his operations out in Pennsylvania. He's got a couple other little ideas, which I was hoping that he would be awake at this hour to talk about what he wants to do, but I don't know how much I could divulge, how much he wants to keep it a secret. But he's
We'll have him on sometime soon. We can get the
yeah.
full scoop.
We'll talk off air as well. But yeah, so if someone's hauling in, so say it's he or another, a friend of his, me even hauling in Xeno relics on a junker ship to his POB, and somebody from the 46 sees me, both of us could be in trouble. Both his base and my ship could be in trouble. But
That's so
meanwhile,
goofy.
he is manufacturing the thing that Navy pilot might be wanting. and and will potentially buy the next day once it's manufactured. So I don't understand that logic. Um,
Right. So let me ask you something. Did they make it so that IFFs of the base determines which modules you can have on board and or the efficiency thereof?
They did.
I know it plays a part.
Yeah.
Jeff, you should know.
There's-
I think you know more.
There's certain recipes that you can only use if you're a certain IFF.
The
And
base is IFF?
yeah, like they put in
Okay.
an inmate processing center there that you have to be a police base to use. You can build it, but it
Oh,
won't let
that's
you use it.
great.
And
Yeah.
and of course with the ship the modules that you build, you get like a 75% off if you're a certain IFF for certain ship components.
Trademark Zentor.
Could you imagine a rogue IFF base has that module on for prisoners?
Right.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
That would be some janky
Oh my
stuff.
God, this is stuff I was talking about. I'm so happy that they've
Yeah.
actually put this
Yeah.
shit in.
Oh, you like the passenger stuff because if you're a liner, then the passenger cabins that they have are half the volume. They fit better in liners. You can carry more of them.
Oh, snap. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
that's pretty
great.
cool.
All right, I'm gonna take a quick break. I gotta grab some food that's in the oven.
All right.
BRB.
Jeff and I will talk. Actually, so I'll kind of fill everybody in on what I've been doing. And kind of like my freelancer story lately. Yeah. So last year I just kind of quit cold turkey. Like I talked about, just saw some things on the forum that I wasn't really happy about. Saw some people in certain positions behaving in ways I don't feel is becoming of that position, and I felt that after a while, the only reason I was on the forum was because I was arguing, and it wasn't going anywhere. I felt like at times I was just talking to brick walls, and I'm a fan of having discussions with people, thesis and antithesis. You get two different arguments and you mesh it into a one. You kind of trim off the fat of both of those arguments, trim out the flaws of both arguments to formulate a solution that everyone can enjoy. And it doesn't seem like that's the part of the course for most of the community. So I just left. I quit playing, started getting into other things. I'm into the Star Wars Combine, which is a browser-based Star Wars game. It's a lot of fun. Joined an awesome faction. And funny enough, I talked to the developer over here quite a bit with different ideas and stuff, and it's really fun talking to him because he'll either explain why something can't work and it's understandable, and I've at the end of the conversation I said, oh, okay, that yeah sounds good to me, or he'll say, oh, that's an interesting idea, or whatever comes of it. So really good community over here. Bunch of older people too. So, but yeah, mostly been doing that. Still been working, still doing the home life stuff. Came back about a month and a half ago. Me and Jericho were trying to restart Universal shipping. The former official faction lost officialdom, so we thought now was a good time to come back and do it. And we tried it, and we both just kind of lost steam. We just lost interest. I can't really pinpoint it, and I think it has a lot to do with Jeff, with what you were talking about, was coming back and being more freelancer, having less of that weight of pushing a faction and dealing with that. And I'll be honest, I put the universal shipping faction on the tracker, and then I went to put the application in to become official, and because it needs the 3 months, so the sooner you put it in, the better. And I was looking at some other factions applications, and I was thinking, oh man, I got really yeah, I kind of got uh what's the word, overwhelmed with with everything putting into it. And uh kind of like what Zentor and I were talking about earlier with family life, with having a family or having a girlfriend or new ventures going on in real life. Free time is a precious commodity, and you have to use it wisely and into things that you really want to do. And so it caused me to reevaluate if I really wanted to do this, and talked with Potato a little bit and just kind of thought about it. And I said, this isn't something at this time that I'm interested in doing. So there was another guy that he came from the old official faction, and he was wanting to restart the faction as well. So he came over and was helping out, and so I kind of gave the reins to him, and he's running it. So
Yeah, pushing officialdom is like a full-time job, man.
it is, yeah, and it just, and I look at the state of freelance or the discovery in the community and the way it is, and it's just not worth it at this time. And he was even talking about building a POB, and I said I have no interest at this time building a POB, because It just kind of goes back to my old mantra: anything, anywhere, at any time can be changed or deleted with little to no warning or reason at all.
Are they
Um,
still a nightmare to haul for?
POBs.
Yeah.
I don't know um, as far as the demand for resources, as far as food, water, oxygen, and now it's so I guess now it's basic alloys, robotics, and is it still industrial material or hardware?
I think so. No, hull is it not hull panels?
It might be hull panels. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you're
I
right.
haven't had to haul those for a while there because the only
But
base that I'm
does it
managing
take
is
like
core
a
5.
bajillion to get it online?
No, it's a lot better that way. Like
Oh,
even
good.
putting up a new module doesn't take it takes maybe I think the last one like for the shipyard I think I did one load of most resources and then two for a couple. So it really wasn't that bad to get it up
See,
and running.
like I said before, I have long advocated for less resources, more time. So the process just digests the material slow, but you don't have to make like 85 runs in a
Uh,
5K.
That's what it was
That
like
way
too.
you can like
I got
play
the
the game.
materials. I got the materials there within a few hours, and then I had to wait a day or so before it finished. So it's like they took
Oh,
that
that's great.
mantra
Cool.
and used it.
So it's almost like they've been listening to you this whole time, Zentor. They just don't want
I'm
to, didn't want to admit it.
just a POB whisperer.
Yeah, the ghost of Zentor lives on in the community. So yeah, and the way that they've got, so I really don't want to sound like a bitter vet or a salty vet, but the way that they have the POB economy working now, they're on the right track. They're on a good path. I like it how it is now. It's really interesting. Unfortunately, they screwed around too much over the past year or two, and a lot of the economy people have left. So now what you're having is this boom of people building the infrastructure to build these things, but not the suppliers to supply it. You're still going to have your individual POBs. They're going to produce their thing, or you get a small group and they're inclusive, and this is their plan and their project. But there's not there isn't a universal shipping anymore. There isn't a gateway. You've got these little pop-up freelancer companies like
Hey, careful there.
Interstellar Transit, and I even thought maybe I'll bring back Constellation Express, and just kind of
Well,
do my own thing a little bit there, or maybe I'll join Interstellar Transit. Maybe we'll
well,
see.
maybe.
Yeah,
If you're
Jeff is like,
accepted, like if you know people, you can that can happen.
yeah, yeah, but just a lot of the economy people left, and there's already a big shortage in the propulsion systems. So if you get one thing knocked out of that supply chain, you are not producing ships. And
I feel
we
like there should
were
be better incentives to actually form organizations for shipping then. Because I mean, before I left, like there's a lot of just like midnight traders that were just, RP Joe Bob, just taking his 5K on 1,000 runs back and forth to his POB. So, I mean, it would be beneficial if we could see a lot more of these traders instead of just being like anonymous names actually representing factions. So if they could incentivize that, like maybe make it so that official factions have 6Kers or make it so that their engines are somewhat better or whatever.
I have
yeah.
a question.
As just real quick, and then we'll jump to you, Jeff. But again, ideas have been pitched, and it went to deaf ears. There's been ideas to talk about special skins for ships, even factions having their own. Because if I knew if I got universal shipping up and running, in that there is a special ship design waiting for us at the other end of it, oh, I'd still be doing it. I'd be flying right now while we're talking. But to your point, there's no incentive, and it's hard to incentivize credits because even now at this point, I could buy any ship that I want right now, and
No, don't
credits.
incentivize credits, incentivize efficiency.
Right, either efficiency or something else that it doesn't even have to be tangible. It could be, yeah, I don't know. It could be anything. Like I said, from a skin to a custom design ship to, um, a new engine that goes faster but also looks cooler.
I mean,
Um,
when you are an individual pilot and you are given the option to become a gateway shipping pilot, like the option should come with like you can do what you can do by yourself, but better and faster because you're a part of a
Yes.
major company now that can make it
mhm.
more efficient and more worth your time so that you're not wasting as much time making these runs. So, yeah, maybe cool ships individual to those factions, but also just like, greater capacity or faster engines or, something that streamlines the process of hauling that is specific to that type of faction, like Gateway, like USI, like BOEX, like RGS.
I thought of this a few months ago. How cool would it be? And you could reserve this for official factions. So LPI had the siren, or right? You did slash police, and it's the police siren, and they go off do their thing. What if for official factions, especially trading factions, you go to a center where there's people hanging out, and you could type in a code to say, what you're hauling, where you're going to, and it would transmit an NPC thing. So like if I fly in and it'll say this is Universal Gold 1. I'm hauling consumer goods to the Texas system. So it transmit that to everybody in the local area just like I'm an NPC. That I thought that'd be kind of cool, like a little,
Yeah, that'd be dope.
bonus. I'm sure it'd get bored after a while, but it's something. Something like that would be so cool. But so
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, Jeff, what were you saying?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to speak to the faction perks. Like I had someone jump into the Interstellar Discord, and one of the first things they were asking is, "What are the perks? What can you give me for joining?" And I'm in an official faction that's freelancer that basically has nothing to offer except for running as convoys. But what I thought would be a cool idea is, and I'm not. This is where I was going to ask Zentor about this. Is it possible to get some sort of discount from POBs based on IFF? Like on your faction.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect. Like I
that's
just like
just
it to
a
me that'd be
very
a simple
simple
thing.
if. Yeah, that's totally possible.
Yeah, like if you had something that you could link to they make it a perk that maybe the unofficials can get so they can build their faction and you say, "Oh, if I show up with this tag, then you get 5 or 10% off the goods that you're getting, but only at these bases."
In
And then that
fact, they should tie it into the IFF that you made your base. So like like I said, I don't know exactly the state of the POBs right now, but if your POB produces ship parts or whatever, you should be able to write a command or put in a menu or access a menu that makes it so that receiving material, so let's say you're some law-abiding ship producing faction, I don't know, I can't really think of one, the Kashiro maybe. All right. So Kashiro needs these components for their shipbuilding or whatever. You could make it so that factions that in lore are positive to them, friendly to them, and doesn't have any kind of like weird, we don't talk to each other thing in lore. You can make it so that these are the options of factions that you can give discounts, and you can actually adjust those discounts. So this faction, there's some fucktard from Liberty, so we're only going to give him 5% discount. But maybe you have some better in-lore circumstance with a Rhineland faction, so we're going to give him a 15% discount or something like that. So you should be able to scalable um, choose which factions to discount and what products you want to discount for them.
nice. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't remember his name, Zentor, but the not Phoenix Claw. Who's the other guy?
Uh, Coding
The
wise,
Yeah, coding wise, he did some like black magic shit. I
oh
don't
man,
remember
you make me think of names.
the first mod.
Oh, Shadow.
Shadow, yeah. After meeting Shadow, um, I I have pretty much broken down any barrier of what could possibly be done with Freelancer. The what he was doing, what he was streaming this stuff, and we're talking about on screen hundreds of capital ships in a big battle, and it ran smooth as glass.
And you could control them too.
Can control them. He was talking about, so you have your POB and NPCs make runs for you overnight, things like that,
Yeah.
and it worked. So the coding for Freelancer, if you have the know-how, it's amazing with what people can code. And yeah, he was doing black magic stuff. I was like, I cannot believe that this is happening right now. But
Yeah, he was playing with the source code of the game itself.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah. So while you were away there, Zentorch, by the way, what you eating?
Oh, I'm having some gluten-free chicken nuggets.
Yum. Dude, I tell you, gluten. So, uh, my girlfriend has celiac disease, and so we eat a lot
Me
of gluten
too.
free stuff. Yeah, I didn't want to say it because that's personal information, so I kind of let you say it. But yeah, so especially lately with the holidays, cookies and things like that, man, gluten free stuff is the bomb. They've come a long way with gluten free stuff. But
Yeah, they've definitely made it better. There's a lot less gummy stuff, and yeah, it's good.
hey, hold on a minute. I think we got a little bit of a sandstorm rolling in here to central Pennsylvania. Oh wait, no, that's Xenon. What's up, Xenon?
Greetings, gentlemen.
Hello.
Our brother from the desert. What's up, Xenon?
What's up, man? Good to see you.
You too.
So yeah, we the perfect timing because we were talking about POBs. We're filling Zentor in on all the new updates, and even I'm a little bit in the dark as far as a lot of the updates, you know, and what they're doing. So yeah, so Xenon, do you want to little talk about what anything you're doing that you're willing to share in your freelancer story over the past year?
Well, I can. Just let me know what you want to know. I just came back from work and I'm like very not focusing at all.
Oh, gotcha. Is so I know about your project. Is it okay that I tell that information?
Of course, no problem. It's still in the future, and I think with the current rate of requesting weapons from players lately, because of the new ships added, they won't mount weapons. They made the crafting business go forward. So I think I will not have enough time soon to deploy that base or that new project. But feel welcome to mention it, man.
So and again, this kind of goes back to talking about incentives and talking about players doing things that are beyond, you know, with the normal player, you know, and especially when it comes to role play and the depth of it. So Xenon has this plan and he's going to go into business with a few people. I am not going to involve myself in this because I know as soon as I do, something's going to change and it's going to ruin the whole thing. But multiple POBs basically in a circle, and they all feed into a shipyard POB. So essentially, an all inclusive shipyard that can manufacture propulsion systems. I don't even know all the different systems, but the avionics systems, all the things needed to craft ships. So everything is happening all at once. And so, you know, they can monitor supplies. So, oh, we're running short on propulsion systems. We got to, you know, throw in for, you know, to get some more systems to get that going. And so, really, really interesting idea. And it seems like a few select individuals are a bit, I don't know if bitter is the right word when they found out about it, but again, that it would be amazing if somebody would have, you know, hearing about this and, you know, go to Xenon and say, well, tell me more about this. What are you doing? What's going on? So going back to the official faction perks, there's a really low supply of official factions in the community. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. we could debate that. I just don't know. It would be cool to see some more official factions, but why not come up with a deal and say, look, you got this big project going on. How cool would it be is if you get this thing up and running, you get some factions going and shoot them towards official faction. And once you get official faction for, whatever factions that they want to do with this, we will combine all of your POBs into a special, use whatever structure that they want to use for it, but create a special core level for this to where they can have everything all in one in there. So
I mean, the code supports up to core 10s already.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so they can make a special, and that is their faction perk. This is exclusive to them, and and maybe other people see it, and if there's enough popularity behind it, then okay. Well, if you want your own shipyard, then we need you to create these factions, and these factions need to be official. And as soon as they're not official, we have to take away the perk. So then that way, it incentivizes the community to join these official factions, supply the shipyard, because with that you'll need some kind of engineering. So if we're talking about Liberty as an example, okay, so you want to have your shipyard. We need you to make DSE and universal shipping official. And once you get those official, you'll get that agreement. There needs to be the role play that surrounds it. Then we will stack all of these POBs into one, and then that's your joint, your partnership, your agreement, and yeah, because that'd be such an amazing thing. You just dock at one base instead of having to dock to several different to drop your different supplies off. So, but instead, it seems like he's been receiving a lot of flack for it, and some interesting conversation. But yeah, so I've been chatting with Xenon for a bit about that idea, but from what it sounds like that's kind of put on the back burner for a while because he's wanting to manufacture more weapons and
I'd be curious there to see if there's any conflict between factions involved in the shipbuilding. Like, are there any that are competitors, or can you make it work without competition? Because some ideas are like they could be pirating each other right outside the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
well,
yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So I was saying, I'm sure if Xenon has a buddy that he's going into this with, they wouldn't want to pirate each other. But if I could see maybe. So I don't know if it makes sense for inter-house companies to kind of go at each other. So like Universal versus DSE, something like that. But I could see something like Universal going after gateway shipping ships.
I mean, even Interhouse, you could very much have some dystopian corporation like shenanigans where it's like, if we get the most material on base, we win this contract. So like we're going to cut each other's throats in order to achieve that.
Yeah.
So I like that idea, but my problem with that is if it's going to be something niche like that, then whatever faction fits that niche is going to win. So if it's the amount of supply, well, Universal, talking Liberty, Universal Shipping has the ships. That is their thing. So they're going to win. If it has to do with the amount that you're going to produce, well, Universal Shipping doesn't have any engineers to produce or manufacture anything.
I mean,
DSE's
you
going to
gotta
win.
consider the nuances of such a situation. Like in this ideal world, like Universal might have the more efficient ships, whether it's greater capacity or whatever. But that could also be the incentive. Like, yes, Universal has access to these better ships, but if DSC is just logging the dudes, logging the time, they could still overcome that disadvantage. Or maybe they have access to a material that is harder for Universal to get. Like Universal has greater capacity to haul it, but DSC has better access to the material that's needed. So there is room for such a nuance to play into this, sort of um, inter-house not conspiracy, but the antics of corporations.
Yeah,
Right.
like the little conflicts and stuff, and probably not like all out war kind of deal, but definitely like frustrating, their efforts. I could see access because
What
I
do they call
think,
it? Intrigue, like court intrigue. You have like corporation intrigue.
yeah, intrigue, espionage, and um, espionage and all that, and yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, these are businesses, especially the big three, Liberty, DSE, Ajira, and Universal.
Mhm.
Even though they're supporting the economy and they're supporting the Navy through their efforts, they're still out to make money and make the most money. So I get that, and I could definitely see something like access. So in role play, um, I think Ajira is the only ones that are still allowed to go through Alaska, which Alaska doesn't link to anything anymore, does it? I have
I don't
to
know anything about that.
Doesn't it still
I'll
go
have to
to Earhart or?
well,
It links to
well,
Earhart and the Micro Minor and Thuringia.
Oh, it goes to
okay,
Thuringia
so
too.
still links. I saw something the other day where it didn't, but I think, yeah. So it jump hole from Alaska to Minor. It's was it the collapsed, or it's unstable, so only freighter class can go through. Because it used to be where it was just a jump hole, so a whole 5K can go through, and that's your access out into the Omicrons. So yeah, that makes sense. But
Yeah. Also, trade lanes and jump holes or jump gates should definitely be charging people. And as factions, you could have like a reduced rate or whatever. But that's
oh
my
yeah,
only 2 cents. Ajira would get everything for free, of course.
Yeah,
yeah,
they'll put
yeah,
they'll put that in the game as soon as my interspace faction dies.
yes,
All of a sudden, I'll have a reason to play. So,
yeah. Because I could completely see that interspace commerce, being like a forum heavy official faction, and yeah, that'd be cool too to push a lot more for the forum role play stuff, because that's what happens in the game is one thing, but to do things outside of the game, and like when I was starting up Universal Shipping, I had something that I was starting up with Barrier with DSE, and I'd actually written a short story, sent it to them, and had some tweaks in mind, and that's when I was burning out, so I never got around to doing the second part. But just the little fluff stuff, I feel like a lot of that's missing, and maybe that kind of stuff is where the official faction perks can come in. So maybe this would require a lot more admin work and probably hire on more admins, which I don't know where they're going to find the people to do it. But um, maybe part of that perk is kind of going with the corporate wars, or the secret corporate wars, things like that. Like an admin drops the little thing, message to Universal Shipping's official faction thing, and says, there's a secret Ajira uh, convoy that's going through Bretonia at this time. So you can go hijack it and bring the loot back when it's
oh,
going through Magellan or something like that.
sure.
But yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, yeah, ultimately, we can talk all day about different ideas of faction perks and stuff, but until we got people to actually implement it and do it, it's not going to go anywhere. But yeah, I would like to see more ID lines for corporate business factions to be able to go at each other a little bit more. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, they
Yeah,
got the
you got to get
compet.
IC the ultimate stock market situation too. That'd be dope as hell. What were you saying, Jeff?
Dude, if there
Well,
was a stock
they've
market,
got the competitive piracy in there now with all the corps. So it's like as interspace, I can go and pirate Samura and IDF, I think. And,
that's
Oh,
cool.
yeah,
interesting.
and then other corporations can pirate their competitors. So I'm not familiar with all of them, but there's usually a couple outside of house space, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think interspace commerce need something in game.
Yeah.
Game mechanics.
Stock market, bro. Stock market POB.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's actually awesome, and it should have something like some kind of module that generates offices, jobs, insurance, things like this. I don't know. Just thinking roughly, without more details. But
So
it
we
should
came up with a
be
couple ideas back in the day for IC. One of them was they would have POBs in each of the capital systems where, as a hauler, you could buy an insurance policy. And talking about what we were mentioning earlier, you could make it so that certain factions get those insurance policies cheaper than other factions, but whatever. So you buy this insurance policy and you're taking stuff from like New Berlin to New Tokyo. So long as you keep that insurance policy for the entire route and then you sell it at the next IC base in New Tokyo, like it makes it so that the cargo you're carrying is a more profitable run in the end. But if you're pirated, like pirates would be really incentivized to steal these insurance policies or, like pirate in general, these IC pilots along the way, then it would make it so that you have a bit of a detriment. So it would encourage like convoying and things like that, more collaborative play. But that was one of them. Another one, the bank thing would be kind of cool because you could basically write in a script that would keep track of the material being hauled and by which factions. And you could say like, all right, we're going to invest in like BOX, and people could buy shares into BOX because BOX is like an on the rise trading company, maybe because they're official or whatever. Or maybe if they're official, they would get a bonus to this stock trade. So you buy shares into BOX. And for like this period of time, let's say over the next week, the more that they haul successfully without being pirated, the more that trade in the end will make you. You could sell those shares back and make a profit.
that's
So,
brilliant.
and you can have it hosted at IC bases, only at IC POBs.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Stock exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's something in game as well. So I mean, you could do farm stuff all day, but yeah, that is tangible in game things that you can do that directly influences your playtime and what you're trying to do in the game.
Mm-hmm. Powered by interspace commerce. Yeah.
Yeah, and it would actually like give them a tangible in-game activity that they can be working on. Like, they might have to collaborate with other factions in order to bring the stock market online. Obviously, get permission from local authorities and whatnot.
What do you think, Jeff? Maybe that will motivate you more to return back the AWS to its former glory of
Oh.
activity.
As I mentioned earlier there before you were here, I'm kind of just in it for the myself and the RP there. I've given up trying to influence any devs or administrators anymore for my faction's
I
benefit.
know.
It's just it's very difficult without all these different ins, and I think most of the people that I talk to there are no longer, like Zentor here just coming back, but we would talk about this stuff all the time. I was running so many events with St. Dennis. He would take my code and just plug it in, no problem. It was so easy. And
Yeah,
then he's
we just
no
gave you the
longer an
template for
admin.
it.
Yeah, it was so nice there. Like I went and
Yeah.
tore that thing apart to make it do what I wanted it to. And then yeah, once he left, I was kind of done with the events anyway at that point. But that was my end. So the Barrier is bringing up some good stuff. He's been doing a lot of events lately, so it's kind of nice that he's keeping the activity going.
We
Yeah,
did together good events, Jeff, if you remember. You were supplying that from your own money for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, before all this
That's
stuff
right.
went down, like I had been writing an application where people could just use this app and fill out these different forms, and then that would just send it into the admin, and they could just plug and play right from there. But I never completed that. That would be something useful.
Yeah. We
So-
need back the magical coder, Mr. Zentor.
I was about to say here's a big question for you, Zentor. Do you have any interest in coming back as a developer? And if so, do you have any requirements that you could say on air that that you need fulfilled to be able to do this?
I
I
believe
would
he never
love
been
to
removed.
to develop for Discovery. I would love to code and do econ stuff combined, and dabble in events.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. I would just would want to not be treated the way we were before,
Be
and actually
more
be listened
cohesion.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think between you and Barrier together, because I just like with you guys, I like Barrier. We were going to do some role play stuff together, and I've had good conversations with him. I think he's the event developer.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I really like him and where his ideas are going. So yeah, I think if you and him tag team along with doing econ stuff, and yeah, I remember going through info cards and doing, especially with like Crater, trying to boost Crater economy a little bit, and yeah, it's going through info cards and talking about different ideas. I miss those days.
Yeah, me too.
We need your old idea about the backdoor, the POB's backdoor. Remember
Oh
that?
yeah, that was Leo's suggestion. Yeah, I was
Oh,
working on
good.
coding that. That was a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yep.
Yep, that'd be because I even have an idea for a smuggling base I'd like to put somewhere. I'm not going to say it, but but I would like to put a smuggling base somewhere, and that would have been perfect.
So
Yeah.
that backdoor option or the back room option you're talking about, was that accessible by password or tag? Or
So
was
that
it something
the
different?
idea was it'd be allowed to certain tags would be granted a password to access the menu so that they could see stuff that should be off the books. So
Hmm.
they could go to buy equipment or market items that you don't want visible to the public. It was essentially a secondary market on the POB.
It
Okay,
would
so just
actually. Yes, please go.
I was just gonna say this. So just one back room, one extra password on top of everything.
Right.
Okay.
I wonder
And
if ideally you could do multiple different rooms.
I mean, you very easily could, but you probably should keep it simple at first.
Yeah,
To
Sure.
that would be nice for certain contracts. I know if you're trying to contract with someone and you say, "Oh, I might have material on my base," right now there's nothing stopping just some oddball freelancer coming and taking that product. So now you don't have enough to supply this person, but yet you just had a contract for them.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
on the flip side of that, like you have the opportunity for the spin-off RP where like, okay, we're an IC base, we're totally on the level and everything, but we're actually totally also selling some fucking Xeno relics, in the back room. So somebody
Mhm.
undocks from your base and they have Xeno relics on you and the police roll up and they're like, "Hey, what the fuck's this shit?" And you're like, now you're stuck. Like, what are you gonna do?" Like it's very obvious you just undocked from this base. So now, like, there's this new RP incentive or this new RP angle that the police or whatever authority faction can, like, all right, prosecute this POB base. Like, okay, what's the deal? We know that they undocked with this, and yeah, maybe you could spin it off. Oh, they had that on board, whatever. You can like make up whatever RP bullshit you want from there, but you have this new opportunity because right now, like, there's I think like an unwritten rule about that, like you can't
Yeah.
really say about like what they actually had on the base or whatever. But if you have this option where it was like a backroom situation, you can have another angle of attack for RP for the authorities. Because I mean, God knows the authorities they really need RP opportunities to be honest, because there's not a
Yeah.
lot for them to do. There's not a
And we're
lot of incentive for police.
I was about to say we're talking police level. Navy's always got stuff going on, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean
police
they're
is.
just troops, but like the intel factions and police, there's just almost nothing for them to do. So yeah, that'd be good.
Mhm. But you said about that idea with the IC base, and that just even made me think of an idea for IC specifically. Is so well, no, I just realized that wouldn't work. Never mind, as we were.
All right.
But yeah, so ultimately, yeah, more perks for official factions and some of these factions that don't have much attention. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
well,
really cool to get some
they
attention
said they're
too.
going to be reworking the whole process for officialdom, so we'll see what they come up with, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they are.
Oh, they are. Okay, cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like we've kind of got a lot of chassis in place for POB changes. If we could tweak them to benefit incentivizing official factions, and it would, in theory, stimulate a lot of RP. So I think that there's a lot of wiggle room there for customizing the systems that they have brought on board.
Well, even like your own supply chain system to create a custom commodity. So like I know Ajira white boxes. Those were a thing once upon a time. Well, actually, so the GC has it going on right now. Cardamine and Black Market Pharmaceuticals, they put on KKJ, and it produces the Shike drink.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then
Cool.
they sell that. They send that out and sell it. So I think more things like that, because especially factions that so because I felt like for the longest time the community, especially the player bases, but also just what people are doing in the game. You've got your traders, and then you have your PvPers and PvEers, and they kind of do their own thing. Once in a while, they blend, pirate traders, and what have you. But for the most part, it seems like both spheres are kind of isolated. It would be really cool to see more of the blend of how the economy and how traders, their work can directly influence navy and pirate factions, to where
Where you
some
can
of these
actually encourage collaboration. That'd be dope.
collaboration, communication, because just like that, like a lot of the PvPers in the community, aside from just knowing who they are, I've never spoken to them before. In fact, it took the Omega, when Wesker came back and he started his rampage through the Omegas. It took that for me to actually talk to him for the first time, to try to see about, toning him down. Didn't work at all, but just to talk to him, try to figure out what it is that he was doing. And before that, I'd never even talked to him before, but he's a big name, and I like to think I'm known throughout the community, but we never talked before, because he does PvP stuff, I do transport stuff. So that
Stewgar,
way too.
you are not famous. You are infamous.
Yeah. So that's I- so I when you went to do your food stuff, that's where I kind of told my little freelancer story, what led me to here. And the one thing I did forget to talk about. So everyone thinks, and which is partially true, everyone thinks that I was banned from the forum because of a punitive reason. So I was banned from the forum. So last year around this time, I messaged the
You
Kusari.
requested to be banned.
Yeah. So I messaged the Kusari, and I say, hey, can you do me a big favor? Can you ban my forum
Ban me,
account?
please.
Yeah. And it was, again, because I realized that I was doing nothing but arguing and debating, and it wasn't going anywhere. I was just talking to brick walls. And so it's my nature. If I see something happening, I don't know why I'm this way. I've just always been this way, but I can't just let things go. I can't leave stones unturned, and I have to engage if I see something that I
You're an
feel is
emotional, nice person, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. But at the very least, too, and I don't go into these debates and these arguments with the stigma of I'm right and they're wrong. I try to ask questions, and I try to show my point, but also try to open it up for the next person to counter that, because I also want to learn what the other person's thinking about, what their point of view is, because perception is is a one-way street most of the time. So it's easier for me with my life experiences and my culture to look at it a certain way. So I try to engage so that I can maybe see it from the other side and from another point of view, to understand, oh, well, okay, now that makes sense. So I try to leave that option open as well. But that was not happening at all, and I was just becoming frustrated. So I asked the Kusari um, to ban my forum account, because I'm done. I'm not really flying anymore. I'm not doing anything, and so he banned my forum account, and in it he put self-inflicted as the reason, and it was a permanent ban. But some people thought it was because I did something wrong, and
Well,
yeah,
you're
this
kind of asking for that, but that's
he,
cool that you kind of did that in the name of you have this pure desire for dialogue, and when that's not really being met and it's just creating stress in your life, then you just pull the plug. That's fine. That's good.
That's practical, yeah.
Exactly, and that's what I tried to do, and in these conversations too, whether it was with Haste or with whoever, it's the bottom line is because there's a reason. There's a reason that something's happening, and I just want to know why. And yeah, so I think people get the wrong idea sometimes because the not only just the community but the internet as a whole is full of that. I'm right, you're wrong. My point of view is the
Oh
correct
yeah,
one,
it's
and there's
all over the
not
damn place.
exactly, and there's not enough people don't ask enough questions and they don't listen enough. So anyway, going on a tangent, but yeah, so I asked for him to ban it, and then I got it unbanned because whenever I created when I was starting up Universal Shipping, I created the faction account, and I didn't want any sort of IP address to, this new account coming in with this IP address and it's banned from Stewgar. I didn't want anything like that happening, so I did get it unbanned. But yeah, it is surprising how many people were like, "Oh, I thought you were banned. You did something wrong." Well, there's no rules report about it, so you know.
Good job. You're already seen as a black sheep.
Yeah, and I try not to. I'm not a troll for real,
Right.
but at the same time, yeah, and you know, again, don't know why I'm like this, but I see something I view as wrong, and I want to confront it. To either try to get other people to change their point of views, or so I can change my point of view, or even we create a whole new point of view or a whole new idea
No, I mean
and
that's
push people
that's
forward.
great actually. Like one of my favorite quotes from a movie, from Kingdom of Heaven actually, is he says, what manner of a man are you if you do not try to improve the world around you? So if the scope of your world is just disco, like if you're
Words
not
of
trying,
Balian.
if you're not, yes, it was Balian. If you're not trying to improve the world around you in the microcosm of disco, then what are you doing? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I feel like that is anybody that has a staff tag, that should be their goal. And frankly, Zentor, that's why initially I knew that I needed to get to know you, because you were the kind of developer that you got into people's faces and say, "Hey, what are you doing? What's going on? What, you're doing this thing here. Give me some ideas. How can I help this through economy, and how can we drive your goals and what you want to do forward?" And not
My
many
time as
developers
a
are.
developer was always seen as I felt this great weight and responsibility as like a servant to the community, because I have these set of skills that can make it better and I have this outlet and access to do so. So of course I was going to like rope in as many people and parts of the community because my little brain is not enough to improve and push forward this game. Like, I mean, I know that I've come up with some ideas that I thought were pretty novel, but like I absolutely would want to use my platform to get everybody's perspective and see that the thing that I'm proposing is balanced, and like me being a trader and you being a PvPer, tell me like what you see from this perspective, because some of the things I've come up with or that I thought that I came up with other people, um once I threw it to somebody that is not inside that little microcosm, like there was revealed some serious flaws in it that I never even thought about, or I thought it was amazing, and then I sent it out, and they were like, "Oh my God, that's awful," and so we had to break it down. So yeah, absolutely, that's the point of a developer, somebody who is a window to the community that can take that input and apply it to furthering the game.
And that last bit right there is why I feel like is the most valuable that you had, that you brought to the community, because there's a lot of staff that they get a like a superiority complex. They've got a tag, and again, I'm right, you're wrong, you have to deal with me. Well, this is a community project. This is not a one person project or a developer's project or an admin staff project. This is a community project, and it should be something that the community feels that they have an input, even if it's the illusion of decision or choice. At least it gives power to the community to feel that they have some say of where their story's going. If you're going to give them the power to run factions, then you should also give them the power to help drive the story. I understand there's going to be really loopy faction leaders. It doesn't take much to be a faction leader, so you're going to have loopy things. But again, you need to have people in place to explain why this idea doesn't work. And when you as a developer push out an idea, and then you have these people in these factions or these groups, and they are more or less the subject matter experts of these factions, and they say, well, no, this doesn't make any sense because of this. You had the wherewithal to say, oh, okay, you're right. Well, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. How is it wrong? How can we make the adjustments? Let's come up with a solution. And you don't see that much. A small handful of staff, and that's about it. So, so I think I echo everybody in saying that, hope that you do come back as a developer. I know it would entice me to come back, and maybe we can spend some more nights, maybe blow some smoke and drink some drink and go through some info cards and come up with some interesting ideas. And I'm sure we'll
Those are
come up.
some of my best nights on Disco.
Oh my gosh! Well, I can't. I love the ideas where we're both laughing our butts off when we say, "No, this will never work because it's so outlandish. This is so dumb, but it's so funny." But
Yeah.
but yeah, I miss that. So, but at the same time, I understand your story. We didn't get into everything, obviously, because we don't. The goal of this podcast is we don't want to assault anybody. We don't want to alienate anyone. We don't want to bash anybody. We're going to tell our point of views, and we're going to name drop here and there. But our goal is to promote the community and to tell our stories and hopefully to motivate people that I don't want to use the word enemy, but people that are
Have adverse opinions.
adverse opinions or oppose our social bubble of people, I guess.
Yeah.
And
There are some salty flakes out there.
we all know those people, but again, it comes back to this idea of there's a reason somebody has that point of view. There's a reason why someone has this behavior, why they do what they do. So let's talk about it. Let's get it out in the open. Because again, we're all from different cultures, different countries, different life
I
experiences.
love you, Pillow.
So, yeah. Yeah. So because I'm sure there's people out there that think that I'm a toxic, cancerous asshole, and that's completely.
You very much are. You very much are.
I totally am, especially when I get some drink in me and I get Hank Rover rolling out.
Oh my God, I forgot about Hank.
I was gonna bring Hank back for Universal, but I think I got another idea of where to bring him back. I started kind of doing a little bit of Hank Roverism there, a little bit. I think Jeff knows.
Oh Jesus. Well, we should probably wrap this episode up then.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry, but yeah. So it'd be cool if you come back, but if not, I think people that know you understand, and but
I think I'll poke around. We'll see where that goes. Xenon, Jeff, you guys got anything?
Oh yeah, it would be. I mean, there's a lot that's changed on Freelancer, and I know I've been enjoying the changes, so it'd definitely be good to see you back, even just as a player, just to be in there with us.
Yeah,
all the best.
Definitely.
Do I hear a convoy starting?
Convoy.
Convoy.
I know, like every PvPer is like, blah!
Yeah.
Convoy.
We're powering their guns up, looking for it.
Some PvPer right now is just like, man, this is the stupidest podcast I done ever heard. So, well, yeah, man. Zentor, man, don't be a stranger to these parts. We like hearing from you. There's, like I said before, there's a lot of people here that really like you. Lots of love here, and don't be a stranger. Pop in, say hello. If you're not going to make a comeback with freelancer, pop in, say hello once in a while, and and let us know
Definitely.
you're still kicking.
With my faction.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I always have a soft spot for you, Jeff.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Oh. All right. Yeah, I think that's about does it. Zentor, if you want to sign us off.
All right, this has been another episode of the POBcast. See you next time.
Holla.